Hello, my beautiful people, and welcome back to Gist Angle, your hope for hot gist and verified news updates. Today, we bring you an explosive update from Rivers State, where Governor Siminalayi Fubara has made eye-opening revelations about the state's finances following the 6-month emergency rule imposed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What he disclosed has raised fresh reactions across the political landscape and among residents of the state. Here's the full report. Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has confirmed that when he resumed office after the 6-month emergency rule, which saw his suspension alongside his deputy and the dissolution of the State Assembly, he met far more funds in the state treasury than expected. According to the governor, before the emergency rule was declared in March 2025, his administration had over 300 billion naira sitting in government accounts. However, upon his return to office in September, after the emergency rule was lifted, Fubara said he found approximately 600 and something billion naira in the state coffers. Fubara made the disclosure on Wednesday during the commissioning of the 14.2-kilometer Obodi-Ozochi Road, which connects communities in Ahoda East and Ahoda West local government area of Rivers State. The governor explained that the increase in funds reflects the cumulative resources available to the state, affirming that records showing the financial flow before and after the emergency rule are intact and ready for verification. He also assured residents that his administration is committed to financial discipline, transparency, and accountability in spending public funds, adding that detailed evidence would be made public within the next few months. Fubara dismissed claims of fiscal management, saying that some misconceptions about the state finances stem from the administration's preference for completing projects before public flag-offs, rather than spending money on multiple ceremonies. This development comes amid criticisms from some lawmakers in the Rivers State House of Assembly who had questioned the condition of public infrastructure despite the reported availability of funds. Now let's reflect on this latest revelation and what it could mean for Rivers State and beyond. First, the jump from about 300 billion naira before the emergency rule to nearly 600 billion naira on return raises questions about how public funds were managed while the governor and his administration were suspended. It is not uncommon for funding levels to change due to federal allocations, internally generated revenue, and statutory receipts, but such a substantial increase merits public scrutiny, especially in a state emerging from emergency governance. Governor Fubara insists that all the money was accounted for and that his administration will make the records available for citizens to see. That pledge for transparency is important because in a democratic system, public trust depends on clarity around financial details, particularly when large sums are involved. Secondly, the governor's emphasis on financial discipline and responsible use of funds is welcome, but the state has faced pushback from the legislature on how certain resources have been spent. This tension suggests that oversight and accountability mechanisms must be strengthened so that citizens can understand how and why this significant increase occurred. The context of this news is also critical. Rivers State has been in the spotlight for months due to political turbulence, emergency rule, and budget disputes. The fact that the treasury balance grew during this period will ignite debates about both fiscal prudence and political management. Some might see the figure as vindication of good governance, while others may worry that the numbers don't yet tell the full story until detailed audits are made public. Another important angle many people are beginning to consider is the role of emergency rule itself in financial accumulation. During periods of emergency governance, spending is often slowed down because political approvals, legislative processes, and major project executions are either paused or tightly controlled. This means that while revenue may still be coming in from federal allocations and internally generated revenue, expenditure reduces significantly. If this was the case in Rivers State, then part of the increase in the treasury may simply reflect money that was not spent during those months, rather than new wealth suddenly created. However, this also raises a deeper question. If reduced political activity leads to more savings, then what does that say about how funds are usually spent during normal governance? There is also the trust deficit factor to consider. Rivers State has gone through months of political instability, legal battles, and sharp divisions between arms of government. In such an atmosphere, even truthful financial disclosures are often met with skepticism. Many residents are not just interested in hearing figures, they want to see clear connections between money and impact. Roads, healthcare, education, and security improvements are what will ultimately determine whether this revelation strengthens or weakens public confidence. Without visible outcomes, even 600 billion naira feel abstract and disconnected from daily struggles. Another layer to this conversation is how this disclosure may reshape political narratives ahead of future elections. Financial transparency, or the perception of it, can become a powerful political tool. Supporters may use this treasury increase to argue that the emergency rule did not damage the state financially, while critics may argue that the funds highlight inefficiencies or political bottlenecks that previously hindered development. Either way, the numbers are no longer just financial data. They are now part of Rivers State's political story, one that will likely influence alliances, public debates, and leadership trust moving forward. Another critical issue this revelation brings up is the difference between announcing figures and being accountable for them. Saying the treasury moved from 300 billion naira to 600 billion naira sounds impressive, but Nigerians have learned, often painfully, that big numbers do not always translate into good governance. The real question people are quietly asking is not just how much is in the treasury, but who is watching it, how will it be spent, and who will answer if it disappears. This moment puts pressure on the state government to go beyond declarations and open the books, because without transparency, such figures can quickly become another source of controversy rather than reassurance. There is also the silent emotional impact this announcement could have on ordinary Rivers residents. For a trader struggling with rising prices, a civil servant battling delayed salaries, or a youth searching for work, hearing that the state has 600 billion naira can trigger mixed feelings. Hope on one hand and frustration on the other. Hope in the sense that it suggests capacity for development. Frustration because many citizens still feel disconnected from government work. So this gap between state prosperity and personal hardship is where public anger often grows, and how the government manages expectations in the coming weeks will matter just as much as the money itself. Finally, this development subtly reopens the national conversation about federal intervention in state governance. If emergency rule coincided with financial growth, some may argue it brought stability. Others may counter that democracy should never be suspended to achieve fiscal order. This puts Nigerians in a difficult space, balancing the desire for accountability with the need to protect democratic institutions. Rivers State once again becomes a case study for the entire country. My people, the big question now is this: will this sudden jump in Rivers State Treasury finally reflect in the lives of ordinary people, or will it remain just another impressive figure on paper? Let us know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Gist Angle for more analysis beyond the headline.
It's just Angle.